Right, so welcome to another exciting episode of the world's most dangerous podcast, The Extraordinary Men Podcast. You guys know me. If you don't know me, let me introduce myself. I am Phil Jones or Mike Jones, however you know me personally or professionally. And I am the chief host of the Extraordinary Men Podcast. And to the side of me, because I can never seem to get this right, left or right, we have the co-hostess with the mostest. Please introduce yourself.
What's going on, everybody? It's Midas. Make sure you put a king in front of that. Let's go.
All right, so now that all the formalities are out the way, let's have a conversation, shall we? I'm gonna keep the glasses on. I think they make me look pretty. Um,
Very studious.
Thank you. We are in a studio, so looking studious is like it goes hand in hand, I believe. So first and foremost, let me just get this out of the way. We are 216 YouTube subscribers ahead of the game. Anybody who's watching this or who will watch this, who has decided to join onto the Extraordinary Men Podcast YouTube channel, thank you guys very much for giving your time and attention to this thing that we are building. We are looking to be able to monetize this thing and turn this thing into a self-sustaining entity. If you guys are watching this at any point in time and you want to subscribe to the channel, there's the link right down here at the bottom. Put your smartphone up to it. If you're not on a smartphone, then just go and type in the Extraordinary Man into the YouTube search box and we should pop right up.
And if you don't know how to do it, you just take your phone, open up your camera, and just point your camera right at the QR code. Boom. It'll
All
take
right.
you right to the joint.
All right, so just as a reminder, this is a men's talk show. This does not mean that women are not allowed to contribute or to voice their opinions or have a thought in the process. We are open to all opinions, all thoughts, all care and concern. However, this is where we share men's concepts and things from a male perspective. So this is not to offend, this is not to assume, it's not to educate, it's to give people perspective on things that we have experienced and to encourage more people to speak up in kind as far as things relating success, money, um, lifestyle, mental health, fitness, whatever have you. You are invited to come and speak your piece. Men, please, we want to get more men onto the platform to come and speak. And we have a very, very special thing that we're in the works of building that we're going to get ready to talk to you guys about. Probably not this show, but maybe into the next one once we work out all the details. So be on the lookout for that. Midas, how you
Yeah,
doing?
just like that. Just like that. I am wonderful, man. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, man.
Man,
Like
talk that docious.
man, dog. Like I just got off the phone earlier today. Got some more good news. So we knocked it out the park on the Patillos project for Illinois,
Good.
and they're looking to give us another bundle or a bulk of another set of Portillos to start knocking those down. That just came through today. And then we also today we just got awarded 13 Walgreens. So I'm like on cloud nine right now, dude.
I like that. I like that. That's what I like to hear. So, with that good news, let me tell you something. I think that that's a perfect segue into today's topic. If anybody can see above the screen to see what we are discussing today, what we're discussing today is potential reasons why we don't excel. I don't think that it's talked about enough as far as the things that go on behind the scenes that aid to the reason why we don't reach our pinnacles as we should. And I do think that these are things that we should be talking about more often. Now, me and my brother, we talk every day. No days off.
Mic check, mic check.
Hello.
We got you back.
All
Welcome
right.
back.
Sorry about that technical difficulty. All right. So, as I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted by the metaverse. We, my brother and I, we have conversations almost every day. And some of the things that we talk about are just, fluff and whatever have you. But a lot of things that we talk about actually provide perspectives that lead to a lot of the things that we discuss in these shows. One of the things that I brought up to him actually while I was on my way to work was the fact that I believe that there's a reason, a very easy and simple reason to understand why a lot of people are not succeeding or reaching their potential the way that they should be. You care to put some sauce on the ribs before I continue?
So basically, it can come down to a plethora of reasonings as to whether it's generational, whether it's been something from childhood brought up, whether it's uh, a continuous lack of learning and education. I mean, it's just a number of things that we talked about that lead up to the reasons as to why we don't. And it's not to say that we don't excel. It's just that we don't excel in droves. We don't excel in a numerous amount. So that and that's what the gist of the conversation was more towards.
One of the things that I believe in my heart of hearts is that a great deal of the reason why we don't reach our full potential at things that we do, it is based on the fact that we have very little experience actually succeeding at things that we set our mind to.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by this is we may not realize it, but even as children, you have to ask yourself, what have we succeeded at? What have we done? What have we put out there into the atmosphere? What is our body of finished work that we have under our belt? Just really think about things that you did. How many people go to school, quit school? How many people are just incomplete in a lot of areas in their lives? One thing that I attribute this to is the fact that we don't always understand that the habits that we've been building, starting things and quitting. Oh, I was in sports, I didn't feel like I was any good, so I stopped doing it. Wherever you feel that is like I don't feel like I'm excelling at it, that is never really a push or an energy to keep going and reach your maximum potential, but instead is more so along the lines of when the going get tough, the rest quit. I know a lot of people that have this notion that if they're not naturally good at something or if they're not easily adaptive to certain things, that they just quit it altogether. And I do believe that that's a lot of the reason why we are in the situations that we're in, is that we don't realize the fact that we have been setting and laying the bed of failure in our lives since children. And we continue to go down that path of accepting the fact that if I don't feel it, if I'm not in love with it, or whatever excuse that you inserted,
Mm-hmm.
whatever excuse you want in the quotations, if it's not something that, if I just wake up one day and I spontaneously say that, well, that's it. We don't work at relationships anymore. We don't work at skill sets anymore. We'll tell ourselves, oh, well, I don't want to take this job knowing I have no money, but I won't take this job or I won't take this that's under a certain pay rate. Whatever the circumstances may be, there's always some underlying factor that's saying that we're not excelling because we have created a generational, not even generational, we've created a lifetime path of not succeeding or not reaching the finish line in anything that we do.
Yeah. And I think we can chalk that up to a lot of complacency, being comfortable, uh, and then along with that, especially today, like it's coupled with a huge sense of entitlement, and I really don't know where that came from. I'm really not understanding where it came from. When you said you lack skills, the educational value is subpar. You know, you tried to go through college, so it's like, what are you actually passing on to your child when they start having these conversations with you, wanting to do different things, wanting to learn something, wanting to get involved with something? You know, how can you teach them to see it all the way through, and to go all the way to the end when you yourself have never done anything all the way to the end? You never seen anything all the way to the end. You never push all the way to the end on anything. Everything that you've done, you picked it up, tried it for a second. If, like Mike said, if you didn't fall in love with it right away, you put it down.
Even then, it's like when the luster of certain things wears off, then there's a fatigue that you catch. It's like I
Hmm.
use college as an example. A lot of people, they're like, oh, well, I'm gonna just take a year off after high school. I just want to have a little break, and that break turns to like 17, 18 years if they ever go back at all.
Or if they ever go back at all, or they have the attitude that college ain't for everybody.
Well, and again, it's like if you don't know what it has to offer because you've never actually tried it to see what it had available to you, how do you know it's not for everybody?
There you go.
So a lot of times what happens is that we go into things blindly. And this is one of the reasons why I say that certain aspects of generational plays a huge part, is because, like you stated earlier, if my child never sees me do anything or never sees me make an active step toward accomplishing something, what am I showing them? Because children don't pay attention to what you say, they pay attention to what you do. So I can give
Hmm.
all the advice. I can get up here and I can be as grandstanding as I want to, talking about all of these different things that we discuss. But the reality of the situation is, what does she see me do when the camera is off? Am I sitting down, cramming down on my homework while I'm telling her to sit down and cram down on hers? What is my what am I saying to you? So what am I saying to you? So if I'm sitting here telling you, oh well, you see how hard it was for me and your mother, hard is relative. So when you look around at where you live and it's like you've never been in poverty, you've never been in crime, you've never seen the worst that it's been, to the outward lens, it's like, well, you guys seem like y'all turned out all right. I don't see what's wrong with the way that y'all, because you don't have that understanding of all the things that could have been avoided had we prioritized education, how we prioritized finance, how we prioritized credit early on. You don't get to see that part. You just see the outward lens. And when we tell you how hard things are, it doesn't appear like it is. So the children are seeing they're seeing the results of the things that you've done. And if the results of the things that you've done don't look so bad, if receiving a check and being on welfare and whatever components that tie into that situation to certain people, if that seems like it produced an okay result, what's stopping
Hmm.
them from following in those footsteps? I hear what you're saying, but this is all I've ever known. I don't know anything better, and from what I can
It's
see, it's
normal.
not worse. Worse is the
That's
homeless
normal.
guy. Worse is the drug
Hmm.
addict. Worse is these other things, and we're not it, so it must not be that bad. So I think that a lot of the part that plays into nurture is the fact that we are not always stewards of what we say. We speak to people from authority based off of what we know is on the other side. They've never been there. So my 14-year-old has only been 14 for the first time. I've already seen that movie. Had the poster on my wall. I know
Hmm.
14. The math that you struggle with, I already passed that course. The hormones, the stuff like that, the puberty and stuff, with the exception of that part of it, I've already been there. So a lot of times we have to understand that we really need to be doing more representing based off of our actions and showing them this is how I schedule my day out. Here is my calendar. Here's how I schedule my day out. Here's how I know A, B, C, D, E, F of what needs to be done for the day. Here's how I know what I need to do. Here are my post-it notes. Here's my little list that I carry around with me to make sure that I got everything that I needed from the store. If these are things that you know that you need to be successful, you have to teach those things to your children.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just make it look easy and then just say, oh, well, if you really want it, you'll figure it out. Or like my favorite one that parents always tell their children is, you can be anything that you want.
That is the biggest turd ball. We really got to get out of that phase of telling children that they can be anything that they want. They can be everything that they want, dude. That is such the biggest lie when it comes to children's development.
That translates to me
You're
as you
only
have no plan. You have no
you
plan.
have no plans.
You have no plan for them.
Yeah,
You're shooting at the hip when it comes down to raising your kids. And as your kids are trying to try on hats, you don't think in sense of, let me expose you to these things that you seem to gravitate to see if
there
it's
you
fit
go.
for you. Instead, I dismiss you by saying, if you like being a doctor, go be a doctor.
Go be a doctor.
Go
Yeah.
be-
And we spoke about this. Man, was it like 3-4 podcasts ago where we talked about where I gave parents an assignment? You are responsible for being involved in your child's career development. If they want to be a botanist, you need to go get the kits and you need to go pick up some flower specimens, some seeds, and you need to sit down with them and show and learn how to do it. If they want to be an NFL player, then you need to go get some cleats, some pads, some cones, some goals on whatever you need. And you out there on the grass getting dirty with them, teaching them how to play that sport. That is what your job is.
You know, I think it's even more so than that. Let's take it a step further. Obviously, your oldest three are daughters, and I have daughters. So when we look at this, one day you might be stranded on the road, and I can't rely on the kind gentleman to come and change that tire for you.
Mhm.
I got to make sure that you know how to do that. I got to make sure that you know how to do something other than call AAA or other than stand on the side of the road looking helpless. So even the stuff, if it's a skill that I know that will be beneficial, it is incumbent on me to pass that to you by whatever means necessary. For God's sakes, credit. Credit. Can't credit.
That's a big one.
I mean, it's whatever the circumstance may be, money management, credit, prioritization of the things that matter most, understanding how to prioritize what is important and what's not important, and how to put those things in place to where if this thing that I want to do means this much to me, then I'm going to use that to motivate me to do these things that are less desirable so I can get them out the way, rather than completely bypassing them to do what I want to do and then having to deal with the repercussions of not doing what needed to get done.
Yeah, because the last thing you want later in life is to be 40, 35, 40, around that range, and your child is getting up in age, and you're going to really need to start doing stuff for real, college and everything else that's needed to be done, and you don't have the credit to do so.
There's
You
not,
don't want to be in that position
there's not this in
or assets to do so.
and you know what you saying that, because this is literally what the rationale was for me. You see, COVID time, like when COVID was at the height of its destruction, and when I had that awakening, so to speak, I don't want to say epiphany. When I had that awakening, one of the major things that came out of that awakening was the fact that I realized how old my daughter was, and I realized high school is right here. Those 4 years are going to
Mhm.
determine a lot of things. So the sports, the activities that she's in. Number one, do you have a job that accommodates you being at game day if she decides to play sports? Do you have the money to be able to finance the materials necessary for her to take part in, to go on the trips, to do the things, to actually be able to truly have the high school experience that she would desire to have? Then once it comes time to start kicking out those college applications, you already know about the student loan trap. So are you 18 is coming. You know it's coming. How much money do you have put away? When we look
I think going back to the car concept, Mike.
You said what?
My bad. I was saying going back to that car concept and translating knowing better and knowing better and doing better. Knowing better, stuck on the side of the road, having jumper cables. Doing better is having a jumper pack already ready to go inside the truck or your vehicle so you could jump yourself. And this is a clear display right here. What you're saying is 18 is coming. You know this. So you need to get prepared then. You should have been prepared 10, 15 years ago.
You knew
we got to get out of that notion that we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We'll worry about college when we get to it.
That's a big
we'll worry about man.
First and foremost, before I forget, Ashley, good morning, good evening. You know, I work overnight, so everything is good morning when the sun go down on Bizarro time. So in looking at that situation and really analyzing Shakita, good morning, good morning, good morning. Yes, we on morning time. I don't care what y'all say. It ain't morning. For me, it is. So with just analyzing and seeing these situations for what they are, you have to realize that it's like time doesn't stop. But it doesn't require me to rack my brain so far out of commission. When I sit in, I look at it and I say, all right, well, let me look at the landscape. If I'm actively involved in your schooling, there's all types of grant money that just goes to waste. Let me get you in the habit of writing for grants. Let me get you in the habit of being involved in activities. Maybe you're into volleyball. Maybe you're into track, stuff that you could get scholarships for. Academic scholarships for bringing in good grades. Let me get you in the mindset of understanding the fact that the road ahead of you can be as easy or as difficult as you place it. And these 4 years are going to be the determining factor on whether you're going to go down the hard road or the less hard road. Easy road.
Man, I'm about to drop a gem on y'all right now. I'm about to drop one. So, for those of you that don't know, when it comes to college, like when it comes to grants, you don't necessarily have to just only get grants that are here either in your state or within the United States. You qualify for grants all around the world. There's this app called Scholly. And what this app does, or what the people there for this app does, is they literally scour the whole entire world looking for grants that everybody in particular fields can qualify for. They give you all the details as far as what your essay need to be about, how long it needs to be, do you need to add a video, research that you need to. It outlines everything that you need to do in one spot. And all you got to do is open your phone and just scroll. Yep, I'll fill out that one. I'll fill out that one. I'll fill out that one. And you can submit them right through Scholly.
Hey, read that
right there in your hand. Can I also possibly bring up the topic of conversation where parents say you have to go to college to have a better life, but the kids don't know what they want to go for? That's knowledge I wish I had. You know what? But when me and you was in college, they didn't have it. I didn't find out about the development of this app until I want to say my last year.
What she's talking about specifically is not. She's not talking about the app. She's talking about.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
What she's talking about is pushing the notion of college without a direction on.
Right. Yeah, we're gonna go there. We're gonna go there. Yep, absolutely. So it's not like back in the day, saying 50s, 60s, 70s, and the big industrial boom where you can work at the steel mill, 30, 40 years, whatever, retire, 401k, pension. All that don't exist no more. The 401k, yeah, but it's trash unless you get your own separate Roth IRA. That's a whole nother financial conversation. But unless you get your own Roth, the 401k honestly is trash. And if you do get a 401k from your employer, if it's not a 1-for-1 match, you getting played. And all they do honestly is they dumping your money into the same index funds that you can do yourself and probably yield a bigger reward doing it yourself. So a lot of them are putting your money into the VOOs and putting your money into the S&Ps, and you know what I'm saying. So I would stay away from that and just do it yourself, because that's all they're doing for you anyway, and you paying the middleman to do it for you when you can just log on to like Robinhood or something and do it for yourself. But yeah, we don't live in that industrial stage anymore. Right now, we live in the information age, where, don't get me wrong, I'm a college graduate. You know what I'm saying? Do I love college? Yeah. Do I honestly, really, truly see a benefit for it today? I'll be honest with you, I really don't. And that's not to say that there are specific, unless you're going for a specific trade, a specific niche, like a doctor. I can definitely see that you have to go to college for that. I don't want to get worked on by somebody that don't have no degree. I'm sorry, that's just me. That might be bogus. I don't want to get touched by nobody that ain't got no papers behind them. And or went through the training where they had other elites watching them do what they're supposed to do. But yeah, professions like that, rocket engineering, mechanical engineering, architecture, things like that require like an extensive amount of know-how, knowledge, skill, apprenticeships, where you can't even, like, some trades, dealing with the IBEW, you apprentice for like 5-7 years before you actually become like a journeyman. So fields like that where it's really serious, yeah, I recommend degrees and certifications and stuff. But other than that, to run a business, run a podcast, become a librarian, become, well, no, I was gonna say mechanic, but no, I definitely want somebody that went to mechanic school. I don't want my car to blow up.
I mean, cybersecurity,
But any
mobile app development is like just literally.
yeah, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that.
You learn more about being active than you will ever learn in a degree. By the time you get that certification,
Learning degree
that information will be antiquated because there'll be new viruses out. There'll be new hackers. There'll be new
every
situations,
day,
new ways to break down firewalls. In accordance,
every day,
every hour, like life alert.
yeah, for sure. So you know what I'm saying. With that being said, you really got to pay attention to exactly what it is that you got to have a plan. You know what I'm saying, and that's again, that's what our parents. I ain't gonna say all, because some of their parents, some people parents is own it. But a lot of us, they just don't have that thorough plan, because a lot of our parents didn't go to college themselves. So how they know how to prepare us to go? They don't know what a college campus is. They don't know what the dorms look like. They don't know what we're gonna need in the dorms. They don't know none of that.
Well,
So it's unfortunate that sometimes a lot of us are left to kind of fend and figure this out for ourselves.
well, let me backtrack that a little bit. Backtrack. I want to
Okay.
streamline a tad bit.
Okay.
So what happens a lot of the times is that people project ideas based on the place that they're in themselves. So if a parent is saying, "Oh, you need to go to college," and they generally don't have a reason for you to go to college outside of the fact that if you want to be successful, a lot of times when you're receiving advice from people, you have to take a thorough look at them. You have to, and again, young people don't have this same insight because they haven't lived life already. I've had more years as an adult than I had as a child at this point. So my scope is a little different. And this is why I would implore any young people, anybody that has access to younger people that are in that teenage, young adult phase, is that when somebody is giving you blanket advice, you have to assess that person. You have to ask follow-up questions. Well, mom, you're telling me that I should go to college. What do you think I should do? I don't know what I'm good at. What do you think? Usually the answer is going to be that they don't know. there's a part of that that is not necessarily rooted in the fact that they don't know because they don't care, but they don't know because they probably spent more time trying to clean up and compensate for their own lack of preparation for their lives. That now this is the reason why they have to go the extra mile in order to try to help you survive. That they had to sacrifice being invested and involved in your character and career development because they had to work to put food on the table to keep a roof over your head. So a lot of times the parent doesn't know. And what happens is the fact that the community aspect is so broken, is so absolutely shattered to tears that I can't go to the church and get honest answers from my pastor anymore. The guidance counselor now is, I won't say a joke because I know some great guidance counselors, but they don't provide the same level of service that they once did. Schools, depending on how affluent the school is, don't offer the same things that they did. So for those people who are not intellectually sound in books, but they can get into wood shop or get into auto mechanics or get into those other areas where that can stimulate their mind and get them going because they need to touch things to be where to be the best that they can be. Those things have been stripped out of the schools in those, unless you're in a more affluent area where tax dollars are more abundant.
Yeah, I was gonna say in better areas for sure. That's still there and flourishing.
Yeah, so a lot of the times
Mhm.
we have to understand that, and this is in reference to Ashley's question. You see, the thing is that when we go to school and now we go there and we're blind, one thing that I noticed about the rule, not the exception, of successful people is that there's usually a roadmap to success. So, pending the completion of my degree, my daughter comes in the room and says, Dad, I'm not sure what I want to do. Okay, well, have you thought about this? Well, I don't know necessarily how I feel about that. Well, I think that I like computer animation and stuff. Okay, you're pretty good at animation. Okay, so do you want to work for somebody or do you want to freelance? Well, I have a degree in business. Let's look over this and see if, since you already have this skill, maybe you can incorporate this skill with this skill and take it somewhere where you didn't know you could take it. But I have something tangible that I can give you because I've already succeeded. I can show you the steps and I can make it easier for you because I've already done it. So there's no need for me to give blanket advice in something that I'm already proficient in. So that eliminates the whole you can be anything that you want. You can do anything that you want. And then you go into the schools and now I'm relying on complete strangers to guide my child's mind and help them flourish into whatever they're supposed to be. It's not logical. But because of the fact that community has been so depressed and so beaten down and so minuscule, there isn't really that supplement for what you may lack in a house. When mom had to go to work along with dad to make sure that to make sure the bills were paid, that was the first step of the destruction of the household. Because no one is there to nurture the child. No one is there to cater to the needs of the child. Nobody's there to check on the homework. More children started to become latchkey kids. And even more than that, more kids were, the elder children became supplemental moms and dads for the younger children. So you have a great disparity between the ones who are kind of forced to be responsible for everything and the ones who got away with everything. Sorry about that tangent there, but it's just kind of, you have to look at society. You have to look at the reflection of everything and how it makes sense in order to have a true understanding of why these things are the way that they are. Why can't mom tell me? Why can't dad tell me a straight answer based on what I'm proficient at about what I'm
I think
supposed to
that's a really good I think that's a really good perspective and analysis, as far as like the reasons behind why, the constant struggle, the single parent household, things of that nature. Of course, all of that goes into play. Um, I know a lot of people are gonna have this same question as what I got is, saying, how do we fix it? How do we, saying, start to seal the cracks? How do we start to, saying, plug the tire and blow it back up? How do we do that?
I feel that step one is that people who, once you have achieved a level of success, it should almost be mandatory that you give back in a non-financial way. That you should take a part of your time and obligate that to being able to speak to children who are not in your house directly. So whether it's a YMCA thing, whether it's a parent teacher thing, whether it's something through the school, forming a committee, something through your local politicians or your local political offices, I believe that that's where we start changing this thing, is because you cannot breathe life into a dead body. I can't become somebody and then leave everything behind. I have to leave something in the minds of the people. I may not need to live here, but I got to come back. I have to be a visual reminder. If you're from an area where the majority of what you see are people who are base level, entry level employees, highly unsuccessful, single mother ratio is through the roof, drugs, whatever other climate, you probably your view of affluency is extremely jaded because you feel like you're locked out of it. So if the ones who made it out of these situations never show as visual representations, and again, I'm not talking about rappers, I'm not talking about those cherry picked situations. I'm talking about, by and large, people who had an idea, ran with that idea, and achieved. I feel like even if I don't go and stand on the same street that I grew up in, somewhere in this neighborhood, we should be able to form something to where there's a safe haven for the kids to come to actually sit down, talk, and receive mentorship from the people who have succeeded that come from the same backgrounds as them. That's something that we can do on the ground level. We don't need anybody's help with that.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, Sabrina Payton, thank you. Thank you for coming back again. I love to see you here so much. Oh my God. Jamala McKee. Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a name I didn't think I would see in here. All right. So, how do
The
you attain
homie.
this goal with a generation now that don't listen and feel they know everything? Here's the problem. And Midas, I want you to chime in on this after I give my explanation. It's not the children's fault that we got old and became poor communicators. It is never the child's fault. I finally catch y'all this time. The thing about us is that we have gotten so riddled with responsibility that we almost forget what it's like to be in that child spot, to where we don't necessarily have all the vocabulary or the life experience to know what questions to ask. You have to understand, especially now in a media driven society, you have so many podcasters and so many different outlets and entities. And for what the Extraordinary Men podcast can't do, Drink Champs might be able to do a better job for them because they speak the language that they need to hear the information in. So 50 Cent may be able to explain in the 50 of Law of Power and any of his audio books or any of the things that he's done successfully, any of his interviews, he may be able to explain it in a way that is more relative to people who come from his background than Michael B. Jordan can. Michael B. Jordan can explain it to the people who understand his language and how he speaks. But you have to speak. I think a lot of the problem too is that you have to understand that you are responsible for a specific tribe. My younger sisters and brothers may not be my tribe, but it may be that little boy down the street. If I don't speak and use my voice, I am depriving him of an opportunity to hear the voice that's going to spark his mind to turn him into who he's intended to be. But I get mad because I want the people that I want to listen to me instead of using my voice and saying, I don't care where it lands as long as it lands. But I still have to do the work. We have to get out of this mindset of, oh, well, these young people don't listen. What's his name? Who are the young people? Show them to me. Maybe you're not the person that they need to hear from. Maybe they need to hear from me. Let me try. Okay, I didn't succeed at that. Hey, Midas, it's your turn. Maybe you're the one that he needs to hear. And we keep going until somebody reaches. But it's never the kid's fault, ever.
You already went down the path that I was going to go, as far as like, you have to be that specific voice for that specific crowd. You know, as far as a lot of these children today, you know, whether it be coming from this way of life or that way of life, more than likely they're going to gravitate towards somebody that is in it, understand it, and they're going to gravitate more to listening to some wisdom from that particular person. I think the problem with that is that that particular person, you know, sometimes isn't always going to give them the best advice, you know what I'm saying, as far as trying to put themselves in a better position. It could be putting them in a penitentiary position, you know what I'm saying, simply just because they're trying to eat, or they trying to get bills paid, or, you know what I'm saying, whatever they trying to do, however they trying to get it, they going to get it. So I think we really need to start to look into that particular situation. And I like what you were saying about going to the politicians, your local politicians, or even banding together as a community and putting something together. You know, you would have thought that the Boys and Girls Club, you know what I'm saying, was that was their, you know, purpose, to give them somewhere to go after school. They got the tutors, they got this, they got that, they got, you know what I'm saying, whatever, to try to help them, you know what I'm saying, stay on the straight and narrow. But it is going to come down to where the parents are just going to have to step up a little bit more, band together a little bit more. Yeah, we understand that you working, understand that you trying to, you know, keep food on the table, things of that nature. But them babies really need the attention, you know, and that's to Mila's point, you know what I'm saying, listen to how they feel. Like this, we're definitely in a way more emotional, intelligent state of society now. And I think that, you know, the way that we came up, or even the previous generation came up, a little bit more hard, a little bit more closed off, you know what I'm saying? It really wasn't that. And I think that I do see a lot of strides being taken for parents today, where they're trying to develop a better emotional understanding to be able to have these conversations with their children and things of that nature. But it's going to take time. So yeah, we can talk about how individuals need to go into these different neighborhoods and or these different tribes and speak, but it still has to come with an element of emotional intelligence along with that as well, because that's where we're at now. So not only be able to speak their language, but to be able to speak their language and also give them a feeling that they need, that they're looking for, that they want.
First,
That, I think that's the key.
First and foremost, Elliot, thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much. I love that brother right there. That was one of the guys who took me under his wing when I first got down here to Florida. Love that man here, man. Thank you for tuning in. Jamila, say that's true. A lot of advice to me was attained and received more from another than my parents sometimes, because sometimes you can feel judged from. I won't say it's necessarily a judgment from family, more so than it's the fact that people are speaking to you from the places that they've been or what they've been taught. So, case in point, the LGBT conversation. I'm gonna go there. For me growing up, I have been taught and it has been beat into me. No homo. No exceptions. You adopt that thought process. You see an extreme dislike for it within the community, that this type of stuff is not acceptable. Now the world is more coming around to where it's becoming more accepting as far as what media is portraying and the other factors as far as making things more inclusive to allow people who have these lifestyles to feel more comfortable being able to come out and speak and live their truths. That doesn't mean that I automatically am going to just, well, it's okay because Grey's Anatomy has gay and trans characters. Well, I guess I need to get with the times. That is an inner fight that people have to deal with when it comes down to their own individual biases and points of view. Me as Michael, as the person that people know, and me as dad have two completely different roles. Sometimes the guy that I am as dad is extremely overprotective and is very rigid because I want my child to be raised with some level of structure and decency. But that structure and decency is based off me dealing with my own demons and what I was taught, and me learning the role of dad in real time. I don't know what I don't know because she's only 14 when she's 14. And when she's 15, I'm going to have to deal with 15-year-old problems. When she's 21, I'm going to have to deal with 21-year-old problems. Our parents don't always know and they don't always get it. That don't mean that they're judging you. It just means that they only coming from a place that they know how to come from. And sometimes it's extremely difficult to snap out of what we've been taught or what was beat into us or what was instilled into us. Some of us have the Bible beaten into us, and that's all that we know, but we were taught wrong. We were taught based off a perspective that is not based off what the word actually says. And
I'm glad you said that, Elliot. My bad, Mike. I thought you was done.
No, it's okay. What we got?
I'm glad Elliot said that because he just put some more sauce on the ribs as to what I said earlier. We always try to figure it out when we'll figure it out when we cross that bridge. Like we gotta break that learning real time stuff across the like we gotta stop that.
Agreed. And most importantly, when it comes down to reasons, a lot of the reasons why we don't excel is because we don't know what we don't know, but we also don't want to learn. We don't want to appear stupid in the eyes of others. I am not the most knowledgeable person when it comes down to everything under the sun. I don't know everything. I know what I know. And that's why I tell people that this is not an advice show. This is a perspective show. I'm only giving it to you based off what I've learned being a father, being a husband, being a single man, being an employee, being a supervisor. From all the different hats that I've worn, I can only speak from where I know. But if Elliot has a different perspective and there's something that he can say that can enrich me and make me a better version of myself, I need to be willing to take that from him. Like, man, that's a great perspective. Let me look into that. If Midas is able to say something to me that makes me a better version, I need to be open to hear opposing point of views to what I have taught myself to believe as the truth. See, part of it is not wanting to expand beyond our culture and teachers and becoming life students. That's your thing, lifetime students.
I will always and forever be a lifetime student. I'm always finding some way, somehow to learn something new. Period. I don't want to breeze past this comment Ashley said though.
Go ahead.
I feel she said I feel like a lot of kids these days don't want to put in the work. They want an easy career job path without putting in the hard work that we did before them. And you know what? To be completely honest with you, Ashley, I kind of feel like that we should take some responsibility for that because we should take some responsibility and or in some way be proud of that because all the hard work and labor that we put in and paved and built the road for these innovations and advancements and things of that nature in society that we have now. I mean, I want my child to have an easy life. I'm gonna keep it a whole buck. Do I want them to be skillless? No. They're definitely gonna have skills, but you know what I'm saying? Like that's the world that the older generation built. It's for us to continuously. They gave us the opportunity to continuously innovate and to grow and to make money in other ways besides hard labor, or what I'm saying, putting your brain at maximum carnage, to try to develop something and build something all the time. So it's a gift and a curse. It's a double-edged sword.
We have to take into consideration too that there's a reason that we're not in the coal mines anymore and why we have Teslas. There's a
Yeah.
reason why I have a smartphone that gives me access to the internet in a couple of seconds rather than a flip phone or going to go pick up a landline with a cord on it. Everything that we do is intended to make things easier. So we have to understand the fact that the generation, those of us that are in our, I would say, mid 30s to mid 40s, we, in my opinion, are one of the greatest generations ever because we got a chance to experience the last generation of communities to where people actually did for each other within our neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't have it, we knew we can go down the street to get it and so forth. Like we knew who, what, when, where, and why. Family, friends, we still had outings and things like that that happened in the 90s up into the 2000s. But we also got a chance to witness tech innovations. Like I can sit back and just talk about the revolution of the cell phone from the old Sprint back when they had the old red logo and stuff. When they had a little drop the dime, it was the old commercials and stuff.
Yeah.
Primeco and just the advances of Nextel and Singular and everything merging together. When Sprint and Boost were when Sprint and Nextel were two separate companies. When Singular and AT&T were I can just talk about the advancement of when a phone only had Snake, the brick Nokia that you could throw across the wall and shred into 3 pieces.
The navy blue one.
Yeah.
Big Nokia in black letters.
Yeah. And then it's like, as you go put the battery back in, and it's back to working like nothing ever happened.
It's back working to get dog. Man, you could run over it with a semi-truck. That phone gonna work.
But the reason why I bring the cell phones up is because not only did we see the technology advance, we saw the ideas of how to attract people advance as well. And this is why the children want things easier. Let's look at this from a situation where at one point in time you had to go buy minutes, and then that's how you paid for it. Okay, well this guy said,
you aging us out, bro?
Huh?
Why you aging us out?
Hey, I'm snitching. I'm putting cases on. So you had to buy minutes at one point in time. Then somebody said, you know what? Free after 9. Free after 9. Oh my God, free after 9. So everybody's scrambling to try to figure out how we could up the ante. Then turn around and, you know what? We're going to go free after 7. Free after 7.
Free after 7.
Oh, snap. Now, somebody popped up and said, you know what? US Cellular say, hey, if they in your network and they got other US Cellular phones, it's free all day.
Yep, and T-Mobile came with the top 5.
T-Mobile with
any network.
So,
Fave 5.
So we have to understand that we were gifted because we got to watch the evolution that the children have been handed. Soulja Boy took something that happened in our generation, although he's not that much younger, but he's like a little younger than us, and jump in and just make a viral sensation out of nothing just by playing with the internet, playing with YouTube. Back before we really even knew the power of YouTube. There was no podcasters. There was no such thing as a content creator. It was music videos and packs.
Creative profession.
Oh, that's specific for you.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a Sprint plan together.
Oh, dog. We're talking about aging people.
Oh man.
No, but in essence, it's like things get easier. But the problem is, like we announced at the beginning of the show, we have 216 YouTube subscribers on the Extraordinary Men podcast. So the outside looking in, this looks like it's fairly easy. It's easy. Oh my God, they just turn the camera on, sit in front of microphones, and just talk about random stuff.
I wish it was that easy.
The hard work that goes behind promoting, the hard work that goes behind just being able, like the days when you're on here and there's absolutely no comments and there's nobody in the chat, nobody knows, nobody's clicking, nobody's paying attention. Trying to come up with the titles that's going to make people actually want to stop in and see what you're doing. Competing for all the different odds and all the different think tanks and the people who are larger than you that have longer algorithms. So you have to put out more and more content so that you can potentially pop up in the algorithm and hope people click on it. And then when you're not getting it, you're feeling low and you're feeling like, man, I'm not getting the results, to keep going over and over again, although you feel like you're failing. That's the part that they don't know. And that's the part that we have to emphasize to the children, is the fact that it looks easy. Keep going.
Not to mention, Mike.
Huh?
Not to mention all the mic issues, all the internet issues. Oh, all of a sudden my camera don't want to show me today. Like, man, dude, it's so many issues that go into this.
It's the equivalent of, I'm in my probation period and I got a flat tire on my car, and I know if I don't make it to this job, I could potentially lose my job. And now you nervous and scrambling to hurry up and change that tire so that you can hurry up and get into the job so that you don't not have a job. It's like you have all these trial and error situations that you go through. However, we have to understand that we also have the knowledge of being young, but we also have the knowledge of being able to be old enough to know better and young enough to do better. We're old enough to where we see the flaws in the thinking before us, and we can also see the flaws in the thinking after us. The biggest flaw that we have is that we are not emotionally intelligent at all. We are extremely rough because life got colder for us as we got older. Family became distant in our generation. Communities and neighborhoods stopped talking. Security and safety, to where the kids can't go outside and play in their own front yards without heavy supervision, can't ride their bike up the street or anything like that, where kids are sitting in front of TVs and sitting in front of cell phones playing games all day. We are living and have experienced being a part of the destruction of the family and of the community. Family, blood relatives, like we don't need the formalities. It's more so of the community aspect of life changed in our generation. We watched the degradation of the community, aside from like sports and other little social gatherings.
Mm-hmm.
Is not the same world to where you could just go outside and go to the park and everybody's at the park, and then some little kids see some other little kids and they just go and do what little kids do over there, and we could just sit back and politic with the other parents and hey, maybe we can arrange a play. It's not the same world anymore. So that's where a lot of this is the fact that we're talking to a very isolated group of people that get their information from Reddit. They get their information from Twitter, from TikTok. They get their information and they get it so fast that they don't have a chance to process facts. They just feel. And us, we old enough to know better. We know that you can't teach somebody the secret to life or the secret to earning $1 million in a 45-second video, but you can't tell that to a 12-year-old. But you know what the 12-year-old does? The 12-year-old got way more balls than you, because he gonna get out there and try to see if it worked. While you sitting around convincing yourself every reason why not to do it. Not you as a person, but that's another part of our generation, is that we are scary as hell.
Yeah.
When it comes down to taking chances. These young people will take chances. Our parents spooked the hell out of us when we was coming up and tried to tell us about every single danger there was under the sun. And we have to pride ourselves, the ones of us that are successful, either because our parents, and we were fortunate enough to have parents or people in our community who encouraged us, or we just had to get tired of getting the results that we were getting and ventured off and decided we were going to take a different path and go someplace else.
Story time, Mike. And this is the same story that, you know what I'm saying, I spoke about before, and that's only because this is the scariest story that I've been through in my life. So when it comes to risk, dude, I put it all on the table. Every last single dime, bank account, savings, stocks, you name it, cashed it all out, went all in. Did the deal with DirecTV. I ran the state of Michigan, the whole entire state for DirecTV. The deal didn't go through. Well, the deal went through. It failed because we talking about family, whether it be family or blood, it don't matter. Formalities. Family screwed me over in the deal. Okay. I ended up having to pay for breach of contract. I ended up having to pay 30 bands back to DirecTV. Now keep in mind, I tanked everything. And not only did I get the deal to run the state, but I had to leave Illinois. So I left my family. I just had my third daughter at this time. And I left the state. I went to live out there in Michigan for a half a year. During that half a year, I also trained this said family member up to run the work. Let's speed it up a little bit. So anyway, the deal fell through. Ended up having to pay DirecTV back 30 bands, and I ended up having to move my family back in with my peoples. We did that. I say we lived there for about 2 years, and within those 2 years, dude, I clawed and scraped and scrimped and scraped and took every job overnight, everything that came my way that I can, you know what I'm saying, get my hands on some bread to get out of that deficit, and then build myself back up. So fast forward today, you know what I'm saying, I do have a successful business, but the moral of that story is that you're never ever going to know what you're capable of and what you're willing to do, the lengths that you're willing to go, until you put yourself out there and take the risk. And the person that you with has to be willing to take that risk with you to reap a great reward. Now that deal, of course, fell through, but the reward that I got after it, after going through that and learning through that experience and going through that experience, dude, I made back. I can't even begin to explain how much I made back from that deal. Well, going through that situation, what I made back and what I was able to bring in my own business. So I want to put that out there to let people know that you have to take the risk. You know what I'm saying? You're never ever gonna see any huge reward just getting by, just doing enough. Just, you know, I gotta save. And that's fine. If you want to save, that's fine. But you're never ever gonna get out of the situation that you in and reach different plateaus and tiers unless you're willing to put yourself out there and take huge risks. You're just not.
I remember in my senior writing composition class, there was a poster that was above the teacher's desk, and I forgot who the quote came from. I thought it was a Michael Jordan quote, but I can't remember specifically. But it had like the basketball stuff in the background. It said, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take."
Jordan.
That quote reigns supreme in my head every time that I try to convince myself not to do something. Every time I feel myself developing an excuse for why I can't do something, be like, yeah, there's a lot of people telling those stories about woulda, shoulda, coulda too.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and join them. Man, if only I would have invested in Amazon during the .com thing. If only I would have put that $200 in Microsoft. But when I seen what was going on with the .com bubble, I took that money out, and a whole bunch of people telling those stories. If only I would have invested that money in the Bitcoin back in 2008. Whole bunch of people. Not saying be stupid, but guess what? You don't learn anything about investing if you don't invest. I don't care how many podcasts you watch. I don't care how many Dave Ramsey seminars you go to. I don't care how many Dan Pena, Dan Locke, whatever your person of choice is, if you even into that. I don't care what you do. You don't know anything until the day that you put that first dollar into that account. You know, you think you know, but you have no idea. I don't care what. I can sit back and show you my entire stock portfolio from beginning to end. That's my stock portfolio. don't mean nothing for you. You ain't finna benefit from it. You ain't gonna get nothing from it. Go put your dollar in, learn the hard lessons, ask for advice in real time. And you know what? I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this before we close out. One of the things that people, and I think I saw Jose post this earlier, and it was about knowing who to ask for advice. Get in pursuit and start moving in the direction for where you're trying to go. And the people who you should be asking for advice are going to manifest in front of your eyes. If you want to be in a certain position, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to observe people who either A, did what you did before you, the way that you like it, or people that you might want to emulate, or B, you're going to want to take habits or certain pieces of what has been done before you and apply those things to whatever you're motivating yourself to go forth on. I have never heard a single person say that they were not able to find a mentor when they were walking in the direction. Just walk in the direction. Go to the door, open the knob, and walk in. Don't think about it. Don't contemplate. Don't test the water. Don't do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Go full throttle, head first in, balls deep, however you want to use your analogy. And until you do that, you're probably not going to get good advice from anybody. Best way to learn how to manage your credit card is by effing up one.
What?
you want to learn how to manage your credit card? Max one out and find yourself in a position where you have to try to figure out how you're gonna pay that.
Don't do what I did and max out 15 bands. Don't do that.
No.
Ever. I don't recommend that for nobody.
Okay, learn from his mistake. Don't do that.
Don't ever do that.
Don't do that. And I'm not encouraging you to go and mess off credit.
No.
What I'm saying
absolutely.
is the fact that
that's why I said don't do that.
Some knowledge is best acquired when you are in it, because
Man,
now
when you
that you
don't
have
know,
the credit in your hands, okay, I got a $5,000 credit card. Now that you have it, discipline is learned in that moment. It's not learned before you get an opportunity. Once you sign on the dotted line, you got that physical card in your hand. It's like, man, Amex said I have no spending limit. When you thinking about all the stuff
that's
that
dangerous.
you could buy,
that's dangerous, bro.
but what I'm saying is that that's the moment to where the discipline comes in. Is that just because I can, don't mean that I should. And that's where you learn the skills. When you're in it. Hold on, what's that? Mentorship saved my life. My dad gave me my morals and original learning. My mentor taught me to bypass the scrapes and falls. It's kind of like the rich dad, poor dad philosophy.
That's exactly what
your dad gave you the foundation, and then your mentor was able to teach you how to excel and take those things and turn them into something great.
Yeah, and you're gonna have many mentors and leadership along your path, and you know,
and
you got to
become a mentor inadvertently, whether you know it or not.
Inadvertently to somebody else, and you may not even know. You know,
somebody's calling you right now asking for advice on how to get started. And you don't even know that you're their mentor. You've been adopted to mentor. Don't even know. I would say tune in Friday. We can go ahead and do a part 2 and expand on this. We get started at 8:00 p.m. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and send you a link out, and then you could just come in and join the show, and then we'll just go ahead and expand on it. Are you good with that? Bet. Got it.
Appreciate that, Miley.
All right, Miles, go ahead and close us out.
All right, so the only thing that I want to leave you guys with is one of the biggest reasons, you know what I'm saying, potential why we don't excel. It's simply just you. Simply put. So thank you guys for tuning. We'll be into. All right, bet. Thanks, Ashley. thank everybody. I appreciate y'all for stopping in, chilling with us. Make sure that you go to our YouTube page, The Extraordinary Men Podcast on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, and click the bell so you can always be informed when we go live. Make sure that you go to our Facebook group, The Extraordinary Men Podcast Facebook group. And that's where you'll be able to reach out to us. We can talk about ideas. We can politic about different ideas, concepts, whatever you want to talk about. You know what I'm saying? And then we will come to a consensus if we want to bring it live to the show. But that's where a lot of the brainstorming happens. So you got to make sure that you join the Facebook group and get in tune with us.
All right, we thank you guys as always for taking this time out. You could have been doing anything else on a Tuesday night, but you decided to spend it with us, and we are eternally grateful for that. Again, I am the host, Mike Jones or Phil Jones, however you know me personally, professionally, and this is the co-hostess with the mostest.
What's happening? And you know how it's finna go. You know how it's finna go. It's Midas. Make sure you put a king in front of that. Let's go.
All right, guys, thank you very much. I'm about to go ahead and send it to you right now, Elliot.